Hello, welcome to Podsongs. I'm Jack Stafford, and I interview inspiring people who are in service to others as inspiration for a new song. Today, I'm speaking with the Executive Director of the Aetherius Society in America. Now, I'm the representative for the Society in Italy, which is a great honour, but I'm also the only member, so I'm not doing a very good job. But you'll understand that it's a difficult religion to join because it's a cosmic religion, so it combines some out there ideas. It's about 1,000 years ahead of its time. But we're trying, and with this episode, who knows? Maybe you could get a few extra members. Please welcome Brian Keneipp. One of the people I wanted to speak to even before I had a concept for the podcast, even before I had...
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I was looking forward to that. Well, here we are. That's
yeah.
That's really.
And now you're my 42nd guest.
42nd. That's a good number. That's good. That's very good.
I've been busy. Yeah.
Is it going pretty good?
It's going very well. I've got so many diverse, different types of people. Yeah, it's been all types of professors, lawyers.
Excellent.
Teachers, mostly people who've written books and they want to talk about something they've done.
Sure.
So,
yeah. Oh, that's really good. I mean, it's working out for you. Are you getting some traction on it?
Well, I'm just launching, to tell the truth. I'm quite ahead of.
Excellent. That's the way to do it. Have a bunch of content already. That's the way to do it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because I heard about this pod fade where people. What happens is people launch and then.
They fade off. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I've also interviewed in the Aetherius Society, Chrissy and Richard.
Yeah. Very good.
And
nice.
Also Alison. So yeah,
good.
It's been great. Just trying. So. But obviously, we've never met before. I mean, you've never spoken, but I've listened to you many times. So for me, this is like, I know you already really well, but you don't know me.
You get the advantage then.
Yes, but I've listened to so many of your lectures. You've been on Aetherius Radio Live.
3-4 times. So,
yeah, and also many of your other lectures on the different presentations on YouTube. And
yeah, we're doing a bunch of them this year on the special Sundays, which are they're working out pretty good for us. And then of course I'm on King Yoga a few times, and yeah, that's one thing where this whole COVID thing has helped us out, because it kind of pushed us into do it. We always had theoretically knew we had to do it, but never put the time and energy and money into it. But now we had to, and so we jumped in, and now it's great because what we would normally do a Sunday service, you might get 30 people in LA. Now like within a day, we'll have the special Sundays. We'll have 300 people would have seen them. So it's
300.
Yeah. The one that we did, it kind of accumulates. So the one we did in May, I think it was, the first one, is now up to about 800 views, which is just great, because and especially for our members and sympathizers around the world, especially who are not near a branch or a headquarters or a group even, they get to, have access to another level of teachings.
It's fantastic for me, and I'm in Italy, and I was asking the guys in London, "Wait, can you put it online for me?" This was last year, and they said, "Do you know how much work that is?"
Yeah, can't do it.
Can't do it. But now,
here it is.
It's fantastic. Here it is. Yeah. So everything is always for the better, no?
Yeah, there's always a silver lining, and it's kind of crazy as far as we're going into another kind of mini lockdown here, which is, the worst part of it is it really harms people like, restaurant owners and stuff like that. And, it's tough on them. So you really feel sad for them, but
The podcast industry is
it's
pretty
still
good.
good.
It's
Still really good. Yeah,
good.
that's right. Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
Now,
there's so
what do
much I
you want to
want to.
do? Yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
there's so much I want to talk to you about. So, yeah, I mean,
Well, you're the boss.
well,
Guide us the way you wish.
it's difficult because I've been studying, so I have access to all the teachings now. I joined the Aetherius Society last year,
Good.
so I'm really in depth now. But for my listeners, they really don't know
Well, of course. Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
about it, and
Yeah.
it is a tiny. I mean, how many members do you have in America?
Uh, we have, well, in America, so I always think about our jurisdiction, which is America, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. And so, we would have, it depends on who you call a member, but we would have high three figures, low four figures kind of a thing, you
Mm,
know. It kind of, and that wouldn't be card carrying members, because we're
mm,
pretty much a similar size to the European jurisdiction.
okay.
Um, but I kind of hesitate to just say members because so many of our listeners and viewers are um, they do more than say a member of the Catholic Church. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I like to include sympathizers and close workers and not close workers but friends, sympathizers, that kind of a thing. So
And
that'd
the
be
other
like the
realms as well. You've
no,
accounted
no, no,
those?
no, don't count them yet. No, don't count
No.
them yet. That's not fair. Then it would be I have no I mean the one um, transmission we had on prayer pour on level 4, I think there was 50,000 attenders at that one event, and that's just at one level at one event on level 4. So I don't know.
I
I know
remember
I'm
Dr. King said that one time he was going to somatic trance in London, and he raised up and he looked out, and he could see they went as far as Hyde Park. I think there were millions of
right.
people. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
maybe
mean,
that's a good.
it begs the question though. It's where are they now? You know what I mean?
Mm, mm,
Because that was a long time ago.
yeah, yeah.
And so you'd think that more than a handful would have found their way into the Aetherius Society. But it may not be that easy to find your way into the Aetherius Society in these
Mm,
days.
mm,
Um, uh, it's as much as we know in the Aetherius Society, more than you know we used to know before the Aetherius Society, shall we say? There's a lot that you don't know.
mm,
A lot
mm.
that you don't know.
So
Um,
because you're not promote your work is doing a lot of the job that you do. I presume is doing these manipulations of spiritual energy, these operations.
Yeah, that's a certain percentage would be the Operation Space Power discharges. We have to kind of organize that, and we all take part in those. And that's every night during the spiritual pushes
Mm-hmm.
from 8 to 11 o'clock at night. But we have a
So
team.
what are you doing then for this for people that don't know about spiritual energy? What because when just for his background when I joined the society, I took my girlfriend over to London, and it says services the jewel in the rock of attainment. So
Hmm.
we thought we'd all she thought we'd all be doing super kitchens
Right,
and
right, 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 right. Yeah,
serving
yeah, yeah,
everyone.
yeah, yeah.
So why aren't you doing that? What is your work focused on instead? What is perhaps more important, but what is that?
Well, you kind of hate to say more important, but because there's a lot of people doing soup kitchens, that kind of
Sure,
thing.
sure. Yeah, I
Um,
mean like that.
but what we're doing is, if you think of the world as a sea of mind, right, and everyone's kind of connected to this sea of mind, and our minds are kind of like radio sets, and kind of we tune into the sea of mind,
Okay.
and the more refined you are, which really means the more service you give, the more practices you do, that kind of a thing, the less coarse you are, shall we say, the more attuned you are to the higher aspects of mind. But if you look around the world, you've got a lot of selfishness, a lot of violence, a lot of hatred, a lot of bad stuff. And that kind of feeds upon itself, right? And so Dr. King and other cosmic and other beings, some of them cosmic masters, suggest that the real battle, because we're in the middle of a spiritual battle on Earth. That's what we're in the middle of. It's a spiritual battle. It's good versus evil, and it's you can just look around, you can see it, everywhere. And the most important battlefield is the mental realm. It's the energies. It's the spiritual energy. Because if you can flood the mind belt that we all live in with spiritual energy, then you give people who are looking to do good things and who are open to do good things, you inspire them to do good things. You inspire them to be the best version of themselves as they can be. See? And, one way to get energy out is to put up your hands and send out a prayer.
Okay.
That gets energy out. You can do a mantra. That gets energy out. You can do a good thought. Gets energy out. You're studying the Bhagavad Gita or the Bible or a Buddhist text. That gets energy out because you're when you think that goes out as well. So all these are ways of getting energy out. But the cosmic masters who are trying to help us help ourselves, they want to kind of help us leverage and get more energy out, right? And so one huge thing is the third satellite. And the third satellite, they have got permission from the karmic lords to put that above the ionosphere. And the ionosphere kind of blocks a lot of the good energy from the sun, which we brought upon ourselves. That's another story, but that's what it is right now. And so the third satellite is allowed to circumvent the ionosphere and push good energy through the ionosphere to those who are using it for good things, right? And so what Operation Space Power, which I referred to a while back, is a way of even increasing that amount of energy that is offered to mankind through these machines, these radiotic machines that were designed by Dr. King and built by the Aetherius Society. So it's a way of us taking a step towards the gods with these machines and our time, and then they will then give energy through these machines to supplement the mind belt to help people who are in search of inspiration and strength to do good. It's kind of a long answer for a short question, but
I mean, there's a lot to take in there. So, but if you're not psychic and you don't understand what spiritual energy is, it's hard to take in, isn't it? I mean, so I've tried to introduce some of my other guests. I interviewed Rupert Sheldrake and other scientists who try and understand that consciousness makes matter. It's not matter makes consciousness, and if you really meditate on that cells in your brain, cells don't create consciousness. The consciousness creates the cells. Then it makes it easy. If you meditate on that, it opens up all these possibilities. Well, if mind made body, not body made mind, then there's a lot more. Then maybe the mind can do other things, and maybe there's all this other energy. So
that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. That's right. And so you wanna feed the mind,
right,
with good uplifting energy. And you can think of the energy thing. Put it this way. You can do an experiment. You can spend your time. You can spend 15 minutes studying conspiracy theories on the internet, and then see how you feel. Okay? And then spend 15 minutes doing something spiritual, depending on what you're able to do. Maybe it's a mantra, maybe it's a prayer, maybe it's reading a Buddhist text, maybe it's mindfulness, maybe it's reading the Bhagavad Gita. Do that for 15 minutes. See how you feel. And that's the difference between good energy and not so good energy. And so if you can take that kind of energy that you have after those good thoughts and whatnot, and you can actually spread those around, it's a tremendous help. We've all walked into a let's say you got a family that you know a couple, and you're going over to have dinner with them, pre or post COVID, I suppose. And let's say they just finished this really intense emotional fight, right? And you ring the doorbell and they say, "Oh, Brian's here." So then they stop, open the door, and you walk in. Even though they aren't arguing, you can feel that heaviness in that air, in that atmosphere. That's energy, and that's not good energy, right? Whereas if they had been like laughing or giving each other healing or massage or talking about what they're going to do tomorrow to help feed the world, whatever, and then you walk in, again, they aren't saying anything, but it'll be a real different atmosphere. And that's what spiritual energy does. It'll change the atmosphere. It'll allow your brain to go up a notch and tune into good things rather than bad things. It's a real simplistic way of looking at it, but that's...
So if you're psychic, it helps a lot. You can tune into these things a lot more easy. But the practices.
I think we're all psychic to a degree. You know what I mean? Because everyone would walk into that situation and feel that heaviness after an argument.
Yeah,
and that's psychic. That's a level of psychic, you know. But the more that you practice it, and the more that you do your practices and whatnot, then it becomes more and more and more prevalent, and you're able to access that extra sensory perception thing more.
The way I came into the society was through my teacher I found online. I was actually in India at the time, so you think I'd be in India, I find someone like Sadhguru or someone at least in a robe, you know.
Right, yeah.
Someone really, but I found Nehemiah Davis from Miami.
Oh, really, Nehemiah? Wow.
Yeah. And he has hundreds of online lectures.
Yeah, absolutely. So he does great work down there in Florida.
Yeah, and he's so he's a yogi, so he's a fully fledged psychic, you know, who can leave his body and you know, has all the powers, so to speak. But I get the exception. I get the feeling that he is the exception rather than the rule in our circle. He's not everyone in the Aetherius Society has this ability, no. No.
Everyone doesn't. You know, people. You can get kind of hung up, especially in the New Age world. You can kind of get hung up on how psychic you are or you aren't, and you know, being around the master, he didn't spend his time teaching people to be psychic,
right?
And he didn't spend his time even encouraging them particularly to be psychic, because that's a and on the other side of the coin, you can be psychic and a bad person.
Oh yeah, there are many of those.
You know, and so it's a technique. It's an ability that you will have either worked for this life or a previous life. But far more important to focus on how psychic or not psychic you are is to focus on what can you do to help the world in this spiritual battle that we find ourselves in. And, you know, whether you're psychic or not, you can send out tremendous energy through the 12 blessings or different prayers and mantras. Tremendous energy. Being psychic or not, you can give fantastic healing. In fact, those two things are a real good way of becoming more and more psychic. Because, you know, to become psychic, the best way to become psychic is to have a really good reason to be psychic.
Right, because you want to heal, or you want
to heal or help others in some way or another, and that's the most important thing.
Because I think you were on a holy mountain. When you just joined the society, and you asked Dr. King, "I don't feel anything happening when I'm doing the 12 blessings," and he said, "Well, probably nothing's happening." Is that right? Or is that...
You're compressing a lot of things I said into a sentence. But I
I have you to correct me.
I mean, all those things are true. It's just that it was over the course of like about 30 years. But because I went on the mountain and I'd never met the master, and I went on the mountain in um, Vermont, New Hampshire, I mean, in Mount Adams, and that was back in 1976. I was 20, and I did 12 blessings with the group in Michigan, about four of us on that trip, and I felt zero. And but I still, for some reason, it didn't bother me that much. I just didn't feel anything. And then a long time later, I discovered a lecture that the master gave, where he said that if you don't feel anything, then not that much is happening. But you can't be categorical on that, because if you are on a mountain doing the 12 blessings, and if you aren't sensitive, then you won't feel anything. But I don't think that in that situation,
because you're on a holy mountain, a charged mountain.
I think you are doing something. And likewise, when you're doing the 12 blessings in your own home, even if you don't feel anything, you are definitely doing something. You're doing good. But I think the key in that situation is you have to be able to, the concentration is a big key. If you can absolutely concentrate and not be thinking about other things when you're doing a prayer, you may not feel what you think is a psychic feeling, but you could be uplifted, for example, because of the concentration of thinking of people being uplifted themselves. And so you don't always. Sometimes you might not be sure of what the feeling is that you should be having, and you might be having. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? Kind of getting muddled there a little bit.
But now, do you feel a stream of power coming out of your hands and your
heart? I feel a lot of stuff now. Definitely, yeah.
After years of practice.
Yeah. No question about that. And things kind of, it's not like a straight line. It's kind of like it kind of goes whoop like that. Because things really build upon themselves.
Like a curve.
Yeah, like a parabolic, opposite to a parabolic curve.
Because I'm doing the practices that, from King Yoga and Nehemiah, I do the pranayama and the mantra and the prayers. But I haven't done it to the extent of someone like, and that's not the objective now. To raise Kundalini quickly is very dangerous, and it's not. We're now in the age of service to others. And so it's not an objective, but we're supposed to still do practices every morning, just to try and, make ourselves a better channel, and so we can do healing and help others.
Well, there's all kinds of reasons to do practices. Because I've seen it so many times from my position that people get onto the path, and there's a tendency to think that once you get onto the path, because you're doing good things, then good things will happen to you.
Makes sense.
But that isn't always the case, and because you're ignoring past karma. Okay, if you had like no past, and then you started doing good stuff, then good stuff would happen to you. Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
But we all got a past, and we all got a stuff in the negative bank, shall we say?
Or we wouldn't be here.
Or we wouldn't be here. That's right. And this stuff's got to come out and teach us these lessons, right? And so when you get onto the path and start doing things, you're virtually showing your higher self that I'm ready to take on more of this bad stuff, And so sometimes you get bad stuff once you start. And if you aren't doing your practices, you can get thwarted, and your mind can say, well, you can be taken off the path.
Right.
Either because somebody else will tell you that this is a faster path over here, or you can disillusion, say, well, listen, I'm doing all this stuff and nothing's seems to be happening, and my life's going bad. So there's a lot of hidden things that can get you if you aren't staying, doing your practices and doing some reading, studying the
Right.
teaching,
Right.
studying the truths. Truth is a key, and you've got to speak truth and you've got to study truth, because there's so much untruth out there, and you want to kind of stick to truth, because that will set you free.
Well, there's so much truth in the, because I'm very fortunate. I'm helping with the proofreading of the transmissions, and also helping write for the website.
Nice.
So I get access to hundreds of hours of, and that's a very privileged position. I mean,
it's a tough job, but someone's got to do it, right?
Well, it's a privilege. But there's a lot of knowledge that's still in the society, but isn't even out there. I mean, there's just so much.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that's one of our challenges, is to kind of fix that situation.
Yeah. Well, it's yeah, I mean, when I first joined, I was very passionate about you should put all the transmissions online and all of that. But is there some of it that you cannot put online? Like,
oh, there's some. There's probably a third. I mean, it's generally speaking a third message transmissions. These are the somatic transmissions, by the way, not the mental transmission. I'm not including those. But if we just take the somatic transmissions, then about a third of those are message. A third are describing battles in the lower astral realms, and a third are power manipulations. And so we aren't allowed to put the battles out to the public. The power
is that because
transmission.
you don't want to be known as a violent organization? I thought that was the reason given.
No. The reason is, well, that was the master's rule, and I think there's a variety of reasons within that rule. One is that it's you can almost think of it as an esoteric knowledge that you have to be ready for it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's part of it. The other part of it is, if you send that out too broadly, then it can draw interference, because you're describing battles in the lower realms, and you kind of like, you're almost calling up energy from there. Not quite that, but you're
because you put your attention there.
That's right. If you're putting your attention down there, then because they are psychic down there.
Right.
They'll figure that out.
So you have to be for 2 years a member of the Aetherius Society, then you can hear the tapes. Is that right?
No, it varies. Some of them are only available to member initiates, which has to be 3 years, and you have to take a test, to show that you know the teachings. But some of them are available to members of any category.
Okay.
Associate or full. It varies.
Could you give an outline of what the missions were because I haven't introduced that at all. I've already spoken to Richard, but I didn't touch on it. Is there something you could you describe?
Which missions are we talking about?
Well, what the Dr. King's main mission on Earth was, to go down into the lower realms and to.
I'm not sure. It certainly was one of. I mean, who knows? But it was certainly a very, very large part of his mission. Put it that way. And I guess the big one, you could say, was the Operation Carmelite,
right?
Which was Dr. King and the other adepts, because he was not the only one, had to go down into the lower realms to defeat Satan, because Satan was a real entity, and had gotten extremely powerful, because, again, you go back to that idea of the spiritual energy, or the energy, and if you have like for example, when I mentioned that you do a prayer and that's uplifting and that's helping to people. Whereas if you do a curse or some really nasty thing, then that's not nice for us. But if you are more of that vibration,
Mm.
it's great. It's nice energy for you.
Mm.
It's powerful. It's good. Feeds you. And so if you think about the Earth being roughly 75% not so good and 25% better or pretty good,
Mm. Mm.
then a lot of these thoughts that are going through people's minds aren't very nice thoughts, and they tend to strengthen the beings in the lower realms.
Right.
And do we need to explain realms here?
Well, maybe we should touch on it, because that's one thing I've learned from Nehemiah. That when in between lives, we go and live on the astral realms or the mental realms, and so, but they are here, exactly here in this exact place, just at a different frequency. So there could be a city where I am now, or there could be an ocean, but that's still very hard for me to understand, that there's this other civilizations, many other civilizations in exactly the same position, where these people who are not alive on this realm at the moment. I mean, do you have a better way of explaining it?
Well, you got to back up a little bit and figure out and think about why we're here. Okay, and so we're here to on Earth to learn lessons to progress to a higher plane of existence on a different planet, and it takes uh, hundreds and hundreds of lives to learn these lessons, right? And so you have to. There's a lot to learn, and you can only learn so much on the physical plane, and so we're on the physical plane.
Okay.
And so when we die, we don't take the physical body with us. We take our auric body, which is composed of the astral, the etheric, and the mental.
I learned this from Nehemiah. Yeah, we have these different sheaths.
Different sheaths, yeah, and even one above the mental. But you have these different bodies, and so you exit the physical body, then you go to another realm, and on Earth, physical Earth, we're all mixed together, right? But when you die and you are living in your astral body, we'll call it, your auric body, then you go to where you vibrate to. Okay. Yeah. And so if you're a good guy, then you go to one of the realms above, of which there are 5 inhabited above. Well, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 4, I guess, because we're on number 1. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5. There is a 6th and a 7th, but that's not, a bit high for us. So you go to one of those.
So it's a much better place. It's a
better place.
A lot less hassle, a lot less pollution, a lot less stress.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Great.
Because there's fewer and fewer. The quality of people are getting better and better and better. Put it that way.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely going up. Yeah.
Then if you go down, then there's 4 down. There's -1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. And so you have your drug addicts, your murderers, but also your millionaires, your billionaires, your people that were really selfish. In other words, if you had a chance to help lots and lots of people and didn't, then you're going to probably go down to one of the lower realms.
Because you need to learn more. You need more heavy. It's a heavy unit. You need more experience in that at that level.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, you go down there because that's where you vibrate to. No one's saying you got to go there and you got to go there.
You enjoy it more.
Go.
There's more base. You would probably he would.
No,
they probably enjoy.
I don't.
More base activities, and more.
I never thought of it that way. Actually, enjoy it more. But let's face it. I don't know if enjoying is the right word, because selfish enjoyment, even on this plane, most people would agree has a kickback.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at all the movie stars and the rich
Oh
uh,
yeah.
singers and whatnot, most of them have pretty miserable lives. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you watch the jazz shows, for example, these brilliant genius jazz people, but they are heroin addicts or cocaine addicts, or it's not a nice life. So
Mm.
you might have moments of enjoyment, but I think writ large is I don't
Yeah.
know,
Okay.
not so good. So you got the lower realms and the higher realms and the upper realms. And you kind of go to where you vibrate to. Uh, Now we were describing this for a certain reason. I've forgotten now why.
But it's just,
Pull me back on course
if I
there.
can appreciate them more. I mean, is there a map of the other realms?
You know, the other realms. It's one of those things. It's because I think it's kind of like three blind people describing an elephant,
Okay.
and one person might be feeling the leg, one person might be feeling the tusk. Most people might be feeling the big belly, and so they're describing what is the elephant, but just a part of the elephant.
Well, that's what I was going to call this podcast. The name of this podcast was going to be The Blind Men and the Elephant, because all the guests, they have a little bit of the truth.
A little piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
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 Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the way it is with the realms. Is you can look at Buddhist texts, you can look at our teachings, you can look at Shivananda's teachings, Vivekananda, astral projectors. There's certain very advanced people in astral projection, and they will all give you a fairly different explanation of the other realms.
Hmm.
And so I haven't quite unraveled that whole thing.
Okay.
I think it's the case where it might sound like a cop out, but I think it's the case is that it's hard. It's so hard to explain that reality to people in this reality that they can't give you the whole picture.
Okay.
It's not like a cop out,
It's
because you think,
definitely
well,
a
of course,
cop-out. You're
I'm
really
sure I can
disappointing
figure
me.
it out. I know I can figure it out, but I don't know. That's
Because the physical is so, up is down. Up is up, down is down. Gravity, seas, land. It's pretty. I've got it figured out here.
got to figure it out. Well, we think we do. I mean, let's face it, they tell us that we know less about the ocean than we know about space.
Yeah.
So there's a lot we don't know about the physical plane of Earth as well. But I think the other realms. I mean, one thing is time is different
Okay.
there. Like a week here might be like a few months on the other realms.
Mm.
Interesting. And like you can far more easily. Well, let's put it this way: you can like if you think of a spoon. If you think of a spoon, I can't see your spoon, and you sure as heck can't use that spoon, right?
Right. Yeah.
But in the other realms, if you think of a spoon with a sufficient concentration, you can use that spoon and you can eat porridge with it.
Okay.
Okay. You can also, if I want to look like a woman, with my concentration, I can look like a woman.
Okay.
Okay.
And
so
the more
there's
advanced
that.
you are, the black musicians can do it to a greater and greater extent.
Well, the better your concentration, the better you can do it. Whether you're doing it for good or bad, the better your concentration, the better you are at it.
So Satan was a man,
Brilliant,
a brilliant man,
at it.
who had involved himself a lot. Had done.
Well, he was actually several. He had become several. He split himself up into several beings.
Okay.
So then nobody could kill him because he had a bunch of different beings.
But he was, in the Christian church they say there's God versus Satan, but that's completely inaccurate because.
Well, I mean, it's not accurate as stated. I mean, it was it gave a feeling. Emotionally it might be correct, but it wasn't correct.
But he was one man who just, who'd achieved great skills on a dark, and he lived on the lower astral realms.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. That's right. And so one of the big things, and he was really, his control and power was holding mankind back because he had that much power. And so before the next master comes, then the powers that be didn't want the next master to have to use his energy to transmute Satan. Someone had to do that before he got here.
For karmic reasons.
Not so much for karmic reasons, but for I think for logistical reasons, because you can only come with a certain amount of energy, kind of a thing. And so if you got to come and use quite a lot of that energy to take out Satan, then you won't have enough left to do the rest of your job.
Okay.
I'm sure. So, I mean, everything is karmic, so I'm sure there's a karmic thing in there. For sure.
With Dr. King, yeah.
Yeah.
So Dr. King's MO was to come and was one of his was the missions, the Carmelite project.
That's right, Carmelite, and there's a few other ones, Alien Mission and the Gotham Mission, but Carmelite
he was basically
he
was a Jedi.
Yeah, he was a Jedi.
So he could do it was just 3 guys against the whole army.
Well, it became more like 5/6 depending on the different battle, but 3 in physical bodies like us.
Right, who went into astral projection, left their bodies and went into the realms to. So that was
fight.
And that was the Armageddon that was foretold.
That's correct. That's exactly right. Yeah.
But it happened not on this realm of existence.
Fortunately, it did. It happened in the lower realms.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this was in the 60s.
Late 60s. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. And so that's it doesn't mean that everybody's like friendly down there, and there's like a lot of tea parties going on. I mean, there's still a lot of bad guys down there, but the main guy was transmuted, and so he was actually he's now brought back into the reincarnatory cycle.
In many different.
He might be your next door neighbor.
He's split.
But there'll be like hundreds of them. They split up, so that, yeah.
And eventually they will have to merge back the soul.
That's right. That's right. And he'll be an incredibly powerful white magician at some point. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. So
that was a long point, that one.
Well, it's a lot to take in, and I'm sure not many of my listeners are really on this. Getting this, it's a lot to take in. I'm sure for everyone new. I mean, but how did you come into the society? What was your way in? I learned from Nehemiah.
I was in pre-med in Illinois, and I went to a class on metaphysics and parapsychology, and in that class they taught some of the Dr. King's teachings.
Really?
And the first one I heard was a free school class. It wasn't like a part of my pre-med curriculum. It was a after school class. And one of them was, the first one I heard was Karman reincarnation, which really
that's amazing,
intrigued me.
Yeah.
And then I read the 9 Freedoms pretty quickly right after that. And then the 9 Freedoms just really did it for me. It explained everything.
Yeah. When you hear great truths, that you do learn, you do understand them, though.
The 9 Freedoms did it because I've been bopping around UFOs and yoga and different things, Western philosophy, science, and I wanted to be a doctor, of course, and all these things were kind of like flowing around. And then when I read the 9 Freedoms, it put everything in place. It explained where you are, where I was, why I was here, why the earth is here, why mankind is here, where we've been, where we're going. It just put everything, talked about nature spirits, spiritual energy, karma. It explained all these things that I had bumped into and knew were kind of felt that they were kind of true, but you couldn't piece them all together. And the 9 Freedoms gave a structure, which from then to now I've been able to kind of plug so many things into. It's this beautiful structure that you can take things as you discover them, and then you'll see where to plug them into this beautiful scheme. It's just the beginning of so much inner knowledge, really.
Yeah. Because I mean, Buddhism, you go to nirvana or you achieve enlightenment, but then what? And Christianity, you go to heaven, but then what? It doesn't really,
Right. That's
there's
right.
no.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get two guests on the podcast. One who studied reincarnation, and there's many professors at the University of Virginia. There's loads of evidence, and I've had near-death experience.
Tons of it, yeah. And most people on the planet really believe in reincarnation.
Yeah.
When you think about it, Hindus and Buddhists, they all believe in reincarnation.
Yeah, and then on the other person, I'd like to get a UFO researcher who's because there's so much evidence for UFOs, and so many people believe in UFOs, and they're both relying on testimony from other people, and the hundreds of sightings and hundreds of experiences. And if you put those theories together, that if we are in an endless cycle of if we're in a cycle of reincarnation, we know that everything has a beginning and an end. So, and if there are UFOs flying around and we don't know what they're doing, and and they're not showing themselves, it's a small step to believe that we can evolve into them.
Yeah. One of the things that's odd is that we're so close on so many of these major mind-changing discoveries, like discovering the other realms of Earth, discovering reincarnation, discovering life on other planets, discovering that the Earth is a living being. So many of these things we're so close to, but there hasn't been any really major discovery that really changes normal mankind's thoughts for a very long time. I
heard that anything that is invented on the other realms eventually filters down into this realm, into the physical. And I heard that they invented a camera that can take photos on multiple realms. So
that's the higher realms. They invented that. Yeah, that's.
Because it seems crazy that they haven't discovered these other realms when they're just right here.
It does. I know. It does. But right now you can't. There's no machine that can measure spiritual energy.
Okay.
And we've had to think about this in the Aetherius Society because prayer power we're putting energy into a battery, and so you can't overflow the battery. And also you're sending it away from the battery, so you don't want to send stuff that's not actually in the battery when it's empty. So we've had to figure out rudimentary ways of measuring spiritual energy going in and then going out of a battery, and the only way we can do it is by humans to feel the energy, and so you know what category it is, and then to time it, how much time they're spending in front of the battery. And I was talking one time to Dr. King about it'd be nice if we could figure out a way to kind of automate that, and he said you will not be able to do that until you on Earth have invented or discovered cosmictronics, and that is these are devices that can detect and measure spiritual energy, and so we aren't there yet. And so
one of my other guests, Dawson Church, he's a researcher, and they tried to check prayer energy or sending spiritual energy, and they measured the flux in the Earth's gravitation nearest where they sent the energy. They noticed something. So
nice. So that's a good. So you got a good line of attack there. That's great.
But that's still kind of measuring a side effect, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's how you start. That's you got to drill down from there. And, it's exciting in a way, but the problem right now is that it's also been said that it's not all that difficult to raise Kundalini if you just spend, say, 12 years working at it under the proper guidance and whatnot. But the problem is in the current atmosphere on Earth, we're spending so much of our time just fighting for our existence. Even in America, where we're relatively safe, you still gotta work for money. You gotta go get your food. You gotta take care of your apartment. You spend all this time doing stuff that you, and then these days, of course, you also spend a lot of time helping the world through prayers and whatever. So you can't focus that much time on that. And so likewise, people don't have the ability and the time to focus that much time and energy on discovering the other realms, because that's not what corporations want you to be doing.
Right. Okay.
And someone's got to pay you money for you spending your time researching other realms, So there's that's not the focus of a materialistic world that we live in.
Right. We're facing in completely the opposite direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So do you think there's a misunderstanding about God in terms of the religion and in the mainstream religion, that God is like there's many different beliefs, but they don't really understand that God is everything. It's all the universe, everything in existence, everything not in existence. It's the wind across the seas. It is the seas, the emptiness of space, the fullness contained within space. Do you think that we limit God to bring it down to, the people like Richard Dawkins and the people arguing against it? They're arguing against that interpretation of bringing God down to our level.
Well, I gave a lecture not too long ago on what is God, and I broke it down into 4 categories, different aspects of God. And the first aspect is the absolute. That's the concept. That's the Hindu concept of the Brahman, which is everything is one, and that is the Brahman, or the absolute, or the one and only God. Okay, there's that, but that's hard for us to get our head around that. Okay, it's almost theoretical. Well, what does that mean? If everything's God, what is that? Okay, so that's
if everything
is
God, then you can't really argue against that. If if I believe everything, okay, if that's your definition of God, everything, all right. Well, that's fine. That's fine.
But
that's
then what does that really do for you?
Yeah.
What does that really do for you then? That's the
yeah.
So that's the first aspect. Second aspect is what I called in my class the lesser gods, right? And that would be the sun, the earth. Mainly for our world, it's the sun.
The sun in the Bible is the God in the Bible, yeah.
God in the Bible is Brahma in the Hindu texts, and so that's again. So that's at least something that we can kind of focus on. We can see it. It gives us warmth. It gives us life. And we've revered that for centuries as well. The indigenous people all over the world revered sun and the earth as gods.
They're right. The sun spoke the word.
They're right.
And we came into existence.
The UM, yeah. So that's the next one. All right. Then the third one is more kind of personalized gods, right? And this would be beings that we actually see as humanoid. The Buddhas, the Krishnas, the Jesus, the Patanjalis, the Lao Tse, Confucius. These are the kind of like the humanoid gods, or the personalized gods.
And they're the ones to God than us.
What's that?
They're closer to God than us.
Well, there's the absolute, which is everything. Then there's a sun, which is does God's work in our corner of the universe, created us,
center of consciousness,
kind of a thing,
looking after us,
right, in our area. Then you got the personalized gods, are kind of guiding us to go the right direction. Because the whole purpose of life is this one great entity, call it Brahman, the absolute, split itself up into all these different parts, and all these parts of which we are one are evolving back to this conscious oneness with this God. So that's the purpose of life.
Right, in the 9 freedoms, yeah.
9 freedoms. So the sun is giving us the experience to do that. Right, and then these personalized gods are guiding us of the right direction to go, right? And then the fourth aspect is the God spark within.
Okay.
because that's God, but it's within us. It's a spark. It's an aspect of this absolute which is within us.
Okay.
And so that's why the East say that the deeper inwards you go, the more you can understand and the more that you can grow and evolve, because you're going in to discover that spark of God within you. And the better you can do that, then you come out with that greater knowledge, and then you realize that everyone around you is God. And so then you spend your time helping everyone around you. That's why you would give service, because then you realize that everyone is God. Why would I not help that person? And then the fifth extra credit aspect of God,
you put some thought into this, Brian,
is karma.
Okay, right. Yeah, the law.
Karma is an aspect of God,
right.
And that is the pressure which is pushing all of us back to a conscious oneness with God.
Right. That's beautiful.
That's my class in a nutshell.
So when people say they've spoken to God, they don't mean that they've spoken to the absolute. They maybe mean they've had some help from somebody closer to God, or they've contacted their own higher self.
Well, you never know what they might mean, but if you could just talk in the air and you're speaking to God.
Okay.
But it could be anything. It could be a voice in the head, and the voice in the head could just be the voice in the head, or it could be a guardian angel from the other realms who's trying to help you, because we all have guides. And they're all trying to kind of get through to us, which we aren't listening to them.
I haven't. They help me with the songs, definitely.
I bet they do.
They do.
I bet they do.
I got a whole team. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we need. I bought myself a new stereo system recently, and because I've been kind of out of it for a while, even though I had one, but but getting a new system, it kind of propels you into it, And so I'm going to all the old songs that you used to know when a kid, all that kind of stuff, and there's a lot of mediocre sound out there.
Oh yeah, I'm fighting against it.
And it's all about sex, or my girlfriend or my wife, or he dumped me for, it's so much of it is about that with the words, and unfortunately, a lot of the ones that aren't like that are spiritual, they don't seem to be that good.
A bit airy-fairy, it's a bit
kind of airy-fairy and doesn't have that good beat, So we can't. Hopefully, maybe you'll be the person to
Brian, this is my gift to you. I guarantee.
Because we need that. Because that will wake people up.
Yeah.
They want to hear stuff, and why not hear stuff and be inspired at the same time? Why worry about all the other stuff that you hear in these songs?
Well, I've always been about the lyrics, always been writing, but now I've started this project. I've got good material now every week,
Excellent.
So I can't fail basically, because I've got with good guests.
Good guests, and there's an audience out there that want to be uplifted and entertained. It's like with movies. There's a lot of crap movies out there, but there are also a lot of good, inspiring, uplifting movies. And there should be more songs like that.
Yeah.
That are good, inspiring, uplifting songs.
Even if I fail with the melody and the rhythm, as long as I've got some wisdom in there, then you've got that takeaway. That's what I want to give to people. And I've hit the mother load with the Aetherius Society, because you know how it is. You wrote the biography of Dr. King, and you have access to the fountain of knowledge. All this. Well, you in particular, because you lived and worked with Dr. King for so many years. I mean,
yeah, it's very fortunate.
So I have lecture tapes, but you have your memories. So what was it like all those years of service? It's just somehow you can't do that, but
well, it was incredibly difficult, exciting, and uplifting, and hard all at the same time. you know, because I mean, on a given day, um, especially like the last year or two, it could be, difficult because he was in pain and he couldn't really do that much as far as traveling or even moving around Santa Barbara. Um, and so anyone as they get older, they kind of things kind of come closer and closer. And he's still of course, he was still running the Aetherius Society and still communicating with um, the adepts and whatnot. But it was difficult, and things. It's almost like he had to suffer through all this stuff to manipulate karma so that these other missions, like Saturn mission, Sunbeam, that kind of thing, were more and more solidified for the future.
Okay.
And so you would go through maybe weeks, months of maybe not a lot of major things happening, and then all of a sudden you might get like a quick thing with the Saturn mission was approved, or a quick thing with Operation Sunbeam changed to Plan K, or quick things with the batteries and prayer power could be revitalized and made more powerful. So you have like it's almost like a nurse anesthesiologist once said that it's hours and hours and hours of boredom and a few minutes of sheer hell because the person's about to die. Now, it's not like that. It was more like I wouldn't say hours and hours of boredom, but hours and hours of more kind of normal living,
Routine,
just kind of making sure
yeah.
that the routine, and then punctuated by islands of amazing spiritual enlightening growth and stuff like that for the world. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When's your biography coming out?
Well, I've been working to try and unlock some of my memories because I was with him for so long. But it's I don't know about you, but if you go back and try and remember what happened each day when you were in fourth grade, you'd have a hard time
Forget about
unraveling
it.
those.
Yeah.
And so I was with him for 10 years, every day for really 24 hours a day. Okay, sleeping in there, but other than that, I was with him. And so it's uh, so I remember a lot of the amazing things, of course, but there's a lot of the unamazing things that I think are extremely valuable, which I have not thought about or remembered. Okay, so it's there. It's my only consolation is in there somewhere, but I gotta unravel it and pull it
I
out.
remember I've heard some of your anecdotes that we always want the spectacular ones. Know that like you were
Of
saying
course,
that you were sailing out onto was it Lake Powell or something on a stormy day, and a huge storm ahead of you as far as the eye could see, and Dr. King's boat was ahead of you. And then I'm probably butchering your anecdote here again, but the Dr. King went ahead, and then suddenly within a few seconds the storm cloud evaporated all across the sky.
No, that wasn't my story. That wasn't my story.
Oh,
I don't think I did that one. No. I don't remember that one, but there was I had some interesting things on Lake Powell for sure. But the one in Lake Powell that I remember is I was with him on this standby, and we were beached in this 50-foot houseboat, and I went to sleep on this bunk, and from my vantage point out the window, I could see the beach, right? And it was it was stormy, like winter. It was like February, the winter storm, and I dreamed that we had come off the beach and we were floating in the middle of the lake, right? And this dream woke me up, and then I looked out the window, and the beach was not there. I'm saying, "Oh no!" So I woke up Richard Medway, who was in the bunk below me, and he was the pilot. Um, and so he jumped up, and apparently we hadn't gone completely off, but that particular anchor had come off, and so we had swung around. So my vantage point was just seeing water, and so we had to kind of swing it around and pull it back. That was my exciting thing. But that was that was just one of the gazillion things. But that was my Lake Powell thing. One of my Lake Powell ones.
Okay. All right. Well, I could keep talking to you all night, but I'm sure you've got things to do, and I really appreciate you taking this time to. I think I've got more than enough inspiration. I think I want to write a song about. I go for the big picture here. You deserve an epic song, so I won't disappoint
Excellent.
you. Uplifting,
Excellent.
Spiritual development. I've got my MO.
No, I mean, I wouldn't mind talking to you sometime, because I'd like to be able to use some of these songs if we can use them. Would that be okay?
Of course. I write them to serve, and I give them to the guests. They can use them, but of course with the Aetherius Society, anything.
Excellent, because again, we would like to. I mean, it's one thing that I've been told, and I believe, is that we don't have enough of a musical element compared to other churches and whatnot, and it's a heart aspect, music, heart, and I think that it would behoove us to somehow introduce more music into our services. Some people had even talked about putting some music to some mantras, and there's one mantra that we do that with, but
I've been to kirtan festivals. Kirtan,
Yeah, they're uplifting, aren't they? Amazing.
I don't really like it.
Oh, you don't like it?
I don't like it. Just something about me. I don't like it, but
I'll give you a thing. I went to one. I've only been to one. Went to one by Jai Uttal. And it was I went there because we had a stand, and then I had a free ticket to listen to him, and I was amazed at how much it touched my heart. It was a real nice feeling. But more to what you were saying, as I was driving back to the Aetherius Society, it came to me that as nice as that is, it's not nearly as nice as the feeling that I would get after prayer power. It's not. I mean, on the one is like a real relaxing, uplifting, nice feeling. The kirtan, but the prayer power one is kind of more of it's an energized, kind of powerful thing.
Okay.
It's almost between a meditation hall in the Vedanta Center, beautiful, peaceful silence, right? Whereas you go into our temple, especially say after Operation Prayer Power or after the adepts have done a manipulation there, and it's like there's this buzz. It's like this buzz, and you almost feel the energy kind of coming up your legs. It's like a kind of a buzz thing. So it's anyway. I digress.
Well, no, I mean, from what I know about the power of mantra now, from Nehemiah would kill me if I did anything like that. With
to what?
Mantras are sacred. You can't mess with mantra. But,
oh well, the master put one of the mantras to he had kind of made it singing.
Yeah, but he makes the rules so he can break them. But I'm just.
He
can have a glass of whiskey and a pork pie, and the rest of us have to live in
the real world.
Yes, where the rest of us have enough, have enough bad karma on our shoulders without.
That's true. No, I'm not suggesting that you but we might in LA though put some mantras to a little bit of music in the background, kind of a thing.
Okay, go for it. Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah.
All right. Wonderful. Well, thanks again for taking the time to chat to me, Brian.
Give my best to Nehemiah if you talk to him soon, because I visited him several times down in Florida, and he's got a wonderful group down there, and he's a really really good man.
He
Nehemiah. Really loved him.
Every Sunday he has a class on Zoom, and I'm doing it with him. And
excellent.
You can ask him any questions about
of course, I know
stuff. I mean, he's.
Well, give him a shout out. And the next Sunday, give him a shout out from me, would you?
Okay, I will do.
He'll
be delighted to hear that. Thanks, Brian.
All right. Thank you, Jack. Nice talking with you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The all made you. The all made me. All is in everything, and forever will be. The all is living, here and perceiving. The all it is knowing, the spell that it's weaving. The absolute's here, screaming your name beside the door, out of the game. Stillness speaks. I wanna be lightning, I wanna be rain, never reborn, ever again. I wanna be oceans, the spectrum of light, feel the whole, finally unite. The absolute solid, it is complete, as light as the air beneath your feet. The absolute feels pain when you lie, and suffers your tears whenever you cry. We are the cycle, but live in denial, fueling the endless death and revival. Stillness speaks. I wanna be lightning, I wanna be rain, never reborn, ever again. I wanna be oceans, the spectrum of light, feel the whole, finally unite. But it's the wanting that tightens the chains, builds the bars that make this a cage. 'Cause here in heaven the entrance prays, it's to be blind in paradise. I wanna be lightning, I wanna be rain, never reborn, ever again. I wanna be oceans, the spectrum of light, feel the whole, finally unite.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. If you could rate and review on your podcast app, that would be great. Really, I'm not getting enough reviews. That would be brilliant. What else can you do? Listen to the song? Sure. Go to Spotify, Deezer, iTunes, or even better, because I think you have to listen to it about 1,000 times to buy me a cup of coffee. It'd be better if you paid $1 and downloaded it from Podsongs.com. This would help to pay for my musicians, Maurizio San Nicola and Massimino Vodza, and my researcher, Dori Verbo. And thanks to you, the listener, for tuning in. Take care, see you next time.